this is one that replays in my mind a lot. This is like the top 10 worst I've ever had.
Yeah.
Right? So I think it must have been 2019. Go to LA. There's this big award show called the BET Awards. They've invited me and another friend of mine to come out there and capture some stuff on socials, right? So they had this celebrity basketball game. Snoop Dogg's playing, got Chris Brown playing the game. Loads of these, American entertainers all playing, right?
Right.
So fun. And then afterwards...
Are you good? Are you good at basketball?
No, we didn't play. We just watched.
You just
so we
watched.
were like spectators, but we got to be like courtside and stuff. And then it was like, oh, you can go back, like backstage, like all the players, well, not players, but like celebs will be there and stuff. So yeah, capture some selfies with people and stuff. So, all right, cool, fantastic. So my friend was very keen. He was going up to anyone. Hey, what's up, Snoop Dogg? You all right? Can I get a picture? Getting pictures. Now, this was very out of my comfort zone at this point. I was like, I don't really want to annoy people. Mm-hmm. They're all there with their entourage, and then for me to butt in and be like, can I have a picture? And I was like, oh, okay, I've got to get some socials. That's why I'm here.
Yeah. And
there was a taco truck. And I go over to this guy, and he's eating a taco with his 2 kids. And I said, hey, what's up? And I've really, I got the confidence. I was like, hey, what's up? You all right? Hannibal Buress, right? This guy looks at me and he goes, nah, man, that ain't me, bruh. And I was stood there and I was like, but I know you're someone famous. And then instead of me just walking away, I was like, can I have a selfie with you, please? And then he goes, well, not if you don't know who I am.
Oh,
so
no.
Then my friend just starts laughing because he's got his selfies. So I was like, okay, I've got my phone in my hand, like ready to take a picture. I was like, he's just looking at me, eating his tacos. He's like, so, what you gonna do? And then my friend goes, no, that's not Hannibal Buress. That's little Rel Howery, yeah? Who's on, he's in Get Out. He plays Daniel's best friend. Yeah. So then I've done the whole, oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, that's you. Yeah. So then he goes, okay. So I was like, can I still have that selfie, please? And he's like, I suppose so. And then I took a picture with him. I was so embarrassed. No. I literally took the picture. He just walked off. And I just had to I literally took it and deleted it straight away. My soul inside. That is one of the top 10 embarrassing moments that's ever happened.
Oh, I have an embarrassing story.
Oh, go on.
Yes. It's not that exciting.
You were nearly
out
the door.
It's very dumb. It's when I was 18 or 19, I had done this movie called The Descendants, and it was the first. I'd started acting when I was 5.
Great movie.
It was thank you, George Clooney. It was the first time in 13 years that like people were like, "Ooh, I can't wait to see what you do next," and like, "Who do you want to work with?" and all these very like cosmopolitan questions that I had never thought of as like some kid who loved acting but also loved like showing up to auditions with mud on my face. And I remember I saw this movie called Black Swan. Yes, and I loved it. I thought it was so brilliant. And at that point, I'd seen like 3 movies in my life, Black Swan being one of them. And so I did this interview and somebody was like, what directors do you want to work with? And I was like, well, like there's this guy named Darren Aronofsky who did this brilliant movie called Black Swan. And I think he'd be pretty dope to work with. Right. So cut to somehow I think like his aunt read the article and was like, you should meet with this. I can't remember like how it happened, but we ended up having coffee or lunch in New York. And we sat down and we started like shooting. He's a really cool guy. I respect him a lot. And we started talking and he was like, so, what directors do you like? Or what are your favorite films? And I was like, well, I don't really know anyone. I don't really know a lot of directors. And he's like, well, what movies do you like? And I was like, well, like Dirty Dancing and The Goonies and Pretty Woman. But like, other than that, I haven't really seen anything. And he was like, have you seen The Godfather? And I was like, no. And he's like, have you seen Annie Hall? And I was like, no. And, he starts like listing all these movies that most people I think see. And he's like, have you seen Requiem for a Dream? And I was like, oh, that like really f***ed up weird drug movie. And he was like, yeah. And I was like, actually, I have seen that. Who directed that? And he was like, I did. And it was like my heart fell through my feet. Mostly not because like I was embarrassed that I had seen the movie, and I actually really enjoyed the movie, but like
I love that those are the only films you've seen by that point in your life. Dirty Dancing, The Goonies, and Requiem for a Dream. If
because
you
I'm
like The
up. I'm a
Goonies
up
and Dirty
person.
Dancing, you might also like Requiem for a Dream. No Amazon.
Oh, I was so embarrassed that I didn't even have
That's so
the
good.
wherewithal to Google an IMDb Darren Aronofsky before sitting
That
with Darren
weird
Aronofsky.
druggy film. I mean, you weren't that embarrassed when we first met and we had our first ever meeting, and at lunch I said, "Have you seen Clifford the Big Red Dog?" And you went, "Oh yeah, I think I saw that piece of trash. That was one of the worst movies I've ever seen. How would a dog even be that big? It's so stupid." And I was like, "Shay, I happen to be the star of Clifford the Big Red Dog." You're like, "Oh my god, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry."
You are not the star of that film.
No, Al Pacino plays the dog, and he is amazing.
Oh.
I had a situation. I was doing a gig in Oldham in a pub, like upstairs in a pub, and it was like a biker pub. Well, it wasn't a biker pub. It just had one biker wall with a load of bike memorabilia. And the guy who ran the gig went, "Don't mention that. Don't talk about the bike stuff on the wall. That's the one rule we have. Now get out there." And I went out there and I did a load of my jokes. Like, "Oh yeah, I was in Waitrose the other day," and complete silence. Tumbleweed. Every time I put out a joke, my Hugh Fernley Whitting store material crashed and burned. All of my gags about going to school with Robert Pattinson tanked. I was dying. I was desperate. I was desperate up there for anything. And I looked over at this wall and I thought, I'm going to go there. And I went, why is there all of this bike stuff? It's so weird. Like all of the rest of the pub is normal. Then you've got just like one biker wall, more silence. And then I thought the Get Out, having tried to do the biker material, was to go, what, someone fall off a bike? And I said that, and then it went. I don't think you can have anything worse than silence, but it was like the sound of like a pool cue cracking at the back of the room and a glass smashing. And I was like, okay, well, that's been my time this evening. It's been wonderful to share the evening with you. Thank you very much. I've been Jack Whitehall. Good night.
No.
And then I walked off, and he went, "Why didn't you listen? Landlady's husband fell off a bike and died last year. That's a memorial to him." I was like, "Oh, God. Oh, kill me. Literally, ground, swallow me up." Also, why didn't you say? Why
That
didn't you give
bit,
me more
yeah.
detail?
Yeah.
You just, but in casual conversation, you just, as passing by, you just don't reference that.
You
And as
can't
a
say-
comedian as well,
Yeah, you can't say to a comedian, "Oh, by the way, you see that elephant?
yeah,
Ignore it."
ignore
You
it.
can't.
No.
It's our job to be observational.
But if you-
I've observed
if
it.
you'd said don't talk about the elephant because the elephant stampeded over
Yeah.
the host of this gig and people are very triggered by references to elephants,
Yeah.
that's the one time when you might not
Yeah.
mention the elephant. But if
Yeah.
you just go, "Don't mention the elephant. Oh, here's my best element set.
Yes.
All my elephant material's coming out."
Yeah.
And anyway, I went there where I shouldn't have gone, and it was horrendous.